Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. Sattology means science or truth, or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. Sattology builds identity, mythology destroys identity. And I have a very, very special guest and a friend, and Rishi Muni Tapasvi, you can say, and also many other adjectives across for his remarkable research on Ramayana and Mahabharata. So let us welcome Sri Nilesh Oak.
Namaskar, Aditya-ji.
Namaskar.
Happy to be here with you.
Always happy, always. So, Nilesh, one question comes to the mind is so many people read. Now, I have written one book on Valmiki Ramayana. There are many other authors have written Valmiki Ramayana, but sensationalism is put in the books, like which sometimes go. If somebody tells me your book is a copy of Valmiki Ramayana or what is already written, it's a big thumbs up to me, credit to me. It's not something I will be ashamed of. I said, yes, thank you for recognizing it. That means you read the original one. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's pride of things. But the many other people, they use this Valmiki base, and then they go into the other Valmiki, other Ramayans all over the world, and come up with a new story altogether. And somehow, sometimes these people get Padma Shri also, or Padma Bhushan. I don't know any American will reward any Ramayana researcher so far, but I mean government officials. But so, what is your view on this? How do you see the situation as?
Okay, well, this is a old problem. Okay, now in modern times we have our modern warriors who very much fall into this category that you just mentioned. They will try to take this ride like a high tide. It could be our devatas. They will start with, say, if they're writing about Vishnu, may begin with Vishnu Puran, Bhagavad Puran, Padma Puran. If they're writing about Shiva, they will begin with Shiva Puran. If they're writing about the characters, the historical personalities from, say, Mahabharata or from Ramayana, they will write about them. And now, if you look at these folks, they will fall into two categories, two categories. So I don't want to specifically even name names, but people who are reading these, they can easily find this out, and we can name names. I mean, it's not, I have any hesitation. I may not be even saying the right names, the names actually may not come to me right now. But the point is, they will be truthful to the narration of the original text, which is to say Ramayana, Mahabharata, or Puranas. Now, when you write a book or a biography or, say, novel on a certain character from, say, Itihasa or Purana, as an author, as an artist, just like when they write the dramas, like Kalidas has written dramas, the Mrutchakatik and so many others, Shakuntal. As an artist, you will take certain liberties which are more suitable to take the message to the contemporary audience. To that extent, somebody taking a liberty, somebody embellishing it, somebody adding some flavor to it is acceptable. What is not acceptable is that those characters from their original themes are modified to such an extent that they're almost you cannot recognize them, whether it is a Shiva or whether it is a Arjuna or whether it's a Yudhishthir, Bhima, or Karna. I mean, this is a big subject. We can go on and on, but let me take, for example, two, and I can take any two, but let me take my favorite, one my favorite and one my not so favorite. And but both are important for its own reasons. One is Bhima. Now, as soon as if you go and ask in the contemporary setting, and by contemporary, I don't mean just the young crowd of today. Actually, 5 generations, everyone living who is aware of the Indian civilizational context or the context of Ramayana and Mahabharata, and you ask them, just give them the word Bhima, one of the Pandavas, and say, what comes to your mind? Describe him. And many will describe him as someone who is who sleeps a lot, who is kind of lazy, maybe powerful, but eats a lot, big fat guy. Okay, so even they might say big tummy and stuff like this. Not unusual. You may do this. What is the reality? Yes, he eats a lot. That portion they got it right. He's very strong. If they said it, they got it right. But if they're saying he has a big belly, then they're absolutely wrong. He is described in Mahabharata as a Vrukodar. Vruka as in like a fox and jackal, whose tummy has gone inside, it curves inside. Vrukodar. He's strong, extremely strong. Do you know what these folks did? They, Adityaji, they took the Vrukodar, with their idiocy, or just to embellish it in a stupid way to curry some points and become popular, famous, whatever it is. They turned Bhima from Vrukodar, Vruka, meaning fox or jackal, to Vakrodar, meaning a round belly. That's the kind of bibhatsa things these guys have done. Take Karna, for example. Okay, and then the modern times we have very contemporary authors. I mean, they may be selling things in thousands and millions and whatnot. But frankly, to be fair to them, in all objectivity, I have not read their books because I tried and I could not. Having said that, like sometime I ask somebody, if I see somebody holding such a book, I said, well, how do you find it? And they say, yeah, I like it. Now, the reason, maybe because it's a good book, since I have not read, I mean, many of these books, Adityaji, I could not go beyond 2 pages. No kidding. Okay. But suppose that person liked it and I say, what benefit you see? Because I heard that it is distorted. And the person will admit that it is distorted, but still he's reading. And this is, I heard from my nephew also. He said something which has a limited value, but it's worth mentioning. He said, you know what? He said, uncle, I don't know anything about this. Because of this book, now at least that name is familiar, something I can identify with the character and so on. And maybe one day I will go and read Mahabharata or Ramayana. Now, this he told me possibly 8 years ago, and he has not read Mahabharata Ramayana yet. But let's not give up, maybe he will. But this problem, as I said, is very old. Take Karna. Okay, I'm sure in every language there are books on a Duryodhana also trying to show how he was a great and so on. But Karna is a classic case study, and we should put all the authors who have written on a Karna into one bucket and do a big case study or write a book about it. That consistently, and Vasudev has been very fair, okay, in terms of representing everyone. I mean, he has shown the faults of Yudhishthira and Bhima and Arjuna and Krishna, and he has shown the good side of Duryodhana, Dushasana, and Dhritarashtra. He's very, very fair. When something is that way, he's showing it. In spite of that, if you look at the description of Karna throughout the Mahabharata, he comes out as a very consistent personality, and basically someone we can psychoanalyze why that might have happened, but the fact remains as to what it is like basically Karna is responsible for a lot of vices that you see in Duryodhana. Many of the bad things that Duryodhana shows courage to do it is on the basis of Karna and so on, and you can go on. But that Karna is being praised to the roof by many authors with twisted and tortured and stories of their own creation. And I do not understand what is this compulsion for these people to turn that unheroic Karna, a bad Karna, and turn him into a Karna. So that is the one kind of nonsense that has happened. And I think the other one that has happened, and these people are famous, and you talked about like what they're getting Padma Awards, and we shouldn't worry about it. If government wants to do it, let them do it. Somebody was telling me, I don't know if it was you or somebody else, he said the Padma Awards before 2014 do not count, or something of that effect. But to be fair, even the blunders and mistakes have been made even after 2014. Although if you notice, some of the individuals, that's a side subject by the way, some of the individuals who have been acknowledged with Padma Awards, I mean, the current government, or we can say Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government of last now what 10 plus close to 10 years has done a tremendous job of finding the talent which otherwise would not have been recognized. I mean, I know many examples, but it just quickly comes to my mind is that one very old lady, 100 plus years old, from Karnataka, I think it was, and she just built a forest. She just built a forest. And you know what? I mean, people knew it, but nobody thought of making that connection and recognizing her with the Padma Award and setting us a good standard. So I think that they have done that. So let's not worry about the Padma Awards. The people related will take care of it, and if they don't do, then we should criticize. But even just using the naivety of the Dharma followers, which means they're not following Dharma, that's why they remain naive. Many writers are exploiting them, exploiting the emotion, and that is happening. And you know what? If you do it to bring this to a newer audience or the contemporary audience in the language they can understand, that is very good. And I am happy to say many authors are also doing it. But then there is another bunch whose main aim is not to bring this dharmic knowledge to masses, but mint money out of masses. So that's just my thought. That is what I am seeing. To an extent, it's unfortunate, but let's also look at the positive. And all we can do is at least we can pray every day, asking us for the sadbuddhi, that we never get that durbuddhi, to twist something just for the sake of publicity or money or whatnot. Back to you,
No,
Aditya.
it's a big dishonor to our acharyas and also our paramparas and our traditions by breaking the words or misrepresenting it. We may not understand it. Be honest.
Hmm.
Like if you read my books, you will connect to original Rama and Mahabharata, and you can verify also. But if you read Nilesh Oak's books also, you will see a lot of references. Like traditions maintain references. It's
Hmm.
like going into a code of law. Without a precedent, this code doesn't function.
Right.
And people think that our Vedas and our scriptures are just like somebody wrote it. So that's a European version.
Yeah.
We have deep respect for Vyasdev and Valmiki, and you
Correct.
can watch our show on Valmiki, and you'll understand why we have so much respect for Valmiki and who he is. Uh,
Yeah.
but but the people without any respect just take it as a theoretical topic because they have not learned pranipatena pariprashnena. They don't know the process. They
Correct.
don't know tattva darshan, or who is a tattva darshi. They don't know.
Yeah.
And like even using disrespectful words for Adi Shankaracharya, which nobody
Hmm.
disrespects in the world. Or
Yeah.
maybe
Or
he was,
Shankaracharya, or Shankaracharya,
or
or any
Shankaracharya,
gurus. Yeah.
or any other guru.
Yeah, I mean,
Eh,
we are like a children sitting on their shoulders, and it's perfectly okay. We can see much farther than them. It's perfectly okay to analyze their work. Nothing wrong with it. Shankaracharya is analyzing Vedas. He says even if Vedas says that the fire is not hot, we cannot accept it.
I mean, that's what Krishna has said, use your intelligence, but
Yeah,
not disrespecting them
correct.
and and like misquoting them or writing books which can see what you and I can do. If somebody reads Ramayana, their hearts change. That's the
Yeah.
power of Valmiki.
Yes.
And the people read Vyasdev, their hearts change. you know
Yes.
so especially in the non-fiction category. I mean, fiction category, you can openly say that yes, I'm writing a fictional story, and it's my version of Ramayana, like some mythologists do. So
Correct.
but
But there is also, Aditya, I want to add a word. If they're writing a fiction, I would rather suggest that they take some different names, like ordinary names, like, I mean, Aditya is a son and Nilesh is, but say use Nilesh, Aditya, they use their own names, just like our standard Bollywood masala Vijay, and just write it. But what happens is when they sometime, just like movies they do, I mean, the whole Bollywood nonsense is going on for many years, 100 years or so, whatever, since it started. That they will use the name Ram and Sita, or like the Govind, the villain is shown as a Govind. The problem is the subtle messages on the viewers is actually not good, although it may be a fiction. And at the beginning, just like at the movie, they say all the characters and the theme is all fictional, and resemblance with the real characters is just coincidental, right? Somebody may write that even in the novel. The problem is if you are using the exactly same characters. For example, you're going to use Dashrath, Kaikai, Kausalya, and Dashrath had three wives kind of thing, and a contemporary scene. The problem is many people are not they are not successful in separating it. Slowly, somehow, they start connecting with it. I'll give you one example. I was just the other day discussing with my creative team, some of the great guys in a movie context. For example, I asked, like, okay, have you heard the name Satyajit Ray? See, this is also a good example, by the way, very similar to this. Now, so they said, of course. I mean, who has not heard Satyajit Ray? I said, have you heard Shyam Benegal? And the person said, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I have watched this. I said, have you heard Jabbar Patel? And the guy said, no, never heard this name. Now, you, Aditya, you may not have heard it either, or you might have. Okay. The point is, and I also did that for some other authors. Now, Jabbar Patel is also amazing. I mean, not also, he's an amazing movie director. Okay. And I have appreciation for the three names that I mentioned: Satyajit Ray, Shyam Benegal. I mean, they have a different genre or bring a different type of style, talent, whatever to this, and Jabbar Patel. Guess what? I can take this trio and just go around and ask the question. I am sure among the Indian audience, every time I will say I'll get yes for Satyajit Ray, I'll get yes for Shyam Benegal, and I'll get no. They never heard for Jabbar Patel. Now I will tell you, I have a great appreciation for all three. I have watched most of their movies, almost all of their movies created by all three of them. And this is just for my personal taste, not that everyone has to agree. Among the all three, I consider Jabbar Patel the best. But that person is not even known to everyone. Okay. The reason I mentioned that is even when people turn something into a fiction and use the similar character names, that also causes lot of utpat, to use your word. So I think even I have an objection, against those people who use these say Ram Sita or Krishna and Radha, Krishna and Rukmini. So use those names and then create utter nonsense, either whether it is in a Bollywood stupidity, the Bollywood movies, or even write fictional novels. So I have a problem. Personally, I have a problem with that, so with that. But today, Aditya ji, I am going to share something, and people, it is sensational. And people may think I'm just creating a sensation for some popularity. Not that, people can reach their own conclusions, but I want to give not a disclaimer. I want to assert that the idea is not to create the sensation, but actually to awake our folks. Which is to say, there has Shraddha Buddhi. Remember, I mean, I talked about it, but I started this series called Shraddha and Pradnya. And I use the metaphor of a rail tracks for a train. And so it's a beautiful metaphor because they both need to be there. Otherwise, the train cannot go. Okay, they both need to be there, always parallel to each other, not too far away from each other, but not too close. Then they don't work. Okay. And the reason I'm using this is because in a Shraddha, we can celebrate the way the tradition has come down to us. Nothing wrong with it. In fact, there must be a lot of wisdom that must have gone into creating our festivals. Say, for example, just now we celebrated Vijayadashmi, like yesterday or day before was the Valmiki Jayanti. And in just few days, 10, 15 days, we will get into the whole, the one of the biggest festival, if not the biggest festival, the Deepavali festival, right? So people, I mean, our great ancients must have used some wisdom in deciding when those are celebrated, the timings, and so on and so forth, matching with the seasonal cycles and so on. But one should able to also distinguish, just like this is a rail track and that is a rail track. So there's a Shraddha Buddhi, you think in one way, but there is a Pradnya Buddhi. So something that is celebrated in a cultural sense doesn't always match with the historical precision and accuracy. And so I'm going to give discuss two events today. They may be seen as a sensationalism. So therefore, I'm giving a disclaimer. It's not meant to be sensationalism, but actually to bring the truth. Okay. And so let me, do you have anything to add before I
No,
start sharing?
nothing. Let's get started. Yeah.
Okay, so let me start sharing. And right at the beginning, I'm going to give the answer. So it's not like as like some big secret or something. I want to hide it and give it at the end. No, not at all. It's not required. We just celebrated Vijayadashmi, Dashahara, Dasara, Dashai. There are many ways it will be said around India. It is Ashwin Shukla Dashmi. That is the day. That's why Vijaya Dashmi. We consider that day to be so auspicious that if we have to start any good kritya, some auspicious beginning of anything, we don't need to look into the panchang if that day is correct. If it is the day of a Vijayadashmi, that's a perfect day for anything to initiate, and we talk of like a 3.5 murta like that, so the Gudi Padwa, the first day, Chaitra Shukla Pratipada, then Akshay Tritiya, which happens to be, by the way, Aditya Ashwini's birthday, so she makes a big fuss about it in a positive way, say, hey, this is a very auspicious day, which is a birthday of Parshuram. And that Parshuram character has come into her, by the way, so so that's Akshay Tritiya. And the third one here is like a Vijayadashmi, and then there is another half that we will not discuss right now. So we celebrate, and many places, if not all places in India, Vijayadashmi is celebrated. And if you notice, Aditya ji, so many historical events are recalled with respect to that day. Not just Rama killed Ravana, that did not happen on the day of Vijayadashmi, that is Ashwin Shukla Dashmi, as actually we believe. Many people are under the impression that indeed it happened on that day. That is not correct. Valmiki Ramayana says otherwise. But I also want to emphasize, as far as the celebration goes, and on a certain day, be thinking of many of the great events of our itihasa. That is a very good thing to do. In fact, another event that is celebrated on that same day, and I bet there are 10 more. For example, Devi killing Mahishasur is also identified with the Vijayadashmi, right? The 9 days, and she does that. Then I don't know if it is this particular thing I'm going to say, if that is spread across India or it's just a Maharashtrian thing, I'm not sure. But that is also the day which is assumed that Pandavas, took out their weapons that they had stored on a Shami Vruksha, during their time of Ajnatavas. They took them out ready to get ready on the day of Vijayadashmi. I can also tell you that is not the subject today. That also, as a historically precise and accurate depiction, that did not happen on the day of Vijayadashmi, as in Ashwin Shukla Dashmi. Is there any other significance? Yes, there is an astronomy significance to it. Those 10 Navaratra, 9 nights and the 10 days, that is done even at this time, like you meaning Ashwin, like a Sharada Rutu, because there was one calendar that began with a Sharada Rutu, like the middle point of Sharada Rutu. There was another calendar that began at the middle point of Vasanta Rutu. So therefore we call that Chaitra Navaratra also. And then there were others. So Dashama, like even in the Western calendar, December is like a September 7, October 8, November 9, December 10. Kind of coinciding with the winter solstice. And there was one calendar that ended with that winter solstice time in the Indian system. There was adjustment of a 10 nights. There was also adjustment of the 10 nights around the summer solstice. Where is this 10 night adjustment coming from? And therefore, even in the Western calendars, but even if you go back to Indian system, you will also find there was a Dasharatra Yajna. You will see those descriptions in the Brahmanas text and whatnot. And those 10 days were not counted in the calendar. If anyone simply is familiar with the very basics of lunisolar calendar, for that person, it would be an aha moment. Because remember, lunar, there are 12 lunations. Moon completes one cycle completely around the earth, as seen from the earth rather, from Amavasya to Amavasya or Purnima to Purnima in 29.5 days. Now, when the 12 lunation happens, we call that a lunar year. Okay, so now 29.5 times 12 is 354. Whereas for the sun to complete one cycle from that particular point of, say, spring equinox to spring equinox is a average we'll take simply right now. We'll not talk about the fraction, 365 days. So 365 minus 354, that is the 11 days. This is the gap of 11 days between the lunar year and a solar year. And that is also adjusted with this Navaratra plus the Vijayadashmi and the 11th day, the both lunar and solar calendars are together. So yes, there is a lot of science, lot of practical, pragmatic aspects of the civilization, of Sanskriti, of living, of the agriculture cycles, of the navigation cycles, of the business cycles. They are embedded into these celebrations. So therefore, I'm saying it's perfectly okay. That's why, what the great sages did is they combined many of these memories into one. Jokingly, Aditya, I say, if our civilization is so old, okay, we are talking, although many of our so-called educated people get stuck in 5,000 years, max 8,000 years, and if you talk anything before, if you show any reference, they start stuttering, and just like Arjuna's situation, Gatrechi Zadati Maji, Hotose Tonda Korade, Shariri Sutato Kampa Ube Romancha Rahati. The way that Arjuna had a situation just before the war, that's the situation of our so-called great researchers. If you talk anything beyond 5,000 BC or beyond 8,000 BC, but it's a very deep civilization. We are talking of thousands and thousands of years going back to 20,000, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100,000, 200,000 and more. As we go back, we cannot find the physical evidence that is given. But my point is, because of that, what has happened is there are so many things in principle from an itihasa perspective to celebrate, or even otherwise, that if we start celebrating exactly when thing happened, guess what? We won't be working. Every 365 days of celebration would not be enough. Okay. So in their great wisdom, I like to think, this is my understanding and my explanation of it, why they combine many things. So Vijayadashmi, it is Devi, killing Mahishasur. It is the day Ram killing Ravana. It is the day Pandavas taking their weapons from the Shami Vruksha. And there could be 10 other things connected with the Vijayadashmi. Just let's jump to Deepavali. Frankly, that can be said about Deepavali also. As such, it is a 5-day thing from a Dhana Trayodashi to Naraka Chaturdashi. I mean, if I won't take that tangent by the way, Adityaji, but if we take the Narakasur, Naraka Chaturdashi, that's a tangent by itself. Naraka is mentioned 14,000 years ago in a Valmiki Ramayana. That Naraka is also mentioned in Mahabharata. Then if you go to Puranas, there is a story of Vishnu killing Narakasur, there is a story of Krishna killing Narakasur, and so on and so forth. So just like we saw in Skanda Purana, some reference is there and it gets twisted or it gets embellished. Frankly, that has happened to Narakasur also. Okay, that's a different story. But the fact remains that there was something big deal about this Narakasur. Okay, we might have lost the original narration, or it may be there and we just don't know which one is the original narration because of the deep antiquity. That happens, right? That things change. For example, Aditya ji, you may know, when somebody is recalling something, so in Valmiki Ramayana, it is Bhagwan Ram who kills Kumbhakarna. But in Ramopakhyan of a Mahabharata, you have a statement where Lakshman kills Kumbhakarna. So because somebody is recalling it, some sage, Markandeya or Lomasha or whoever is telling this story. So over time, this small slip of tongue, what we can say, do happen. They happen with all of us. Sometimes we don't mean to say this thing, but as if we say it, So my point back to this is there is a real
Nilesh,
story.
that
Yeah.
is the tattva definition. Like
That
for
is what
example,
definition?
tattva definition.
Okay, what does that mean?
Because
Can you
because
elaborate? Yeah.
because when Shukdev Goswami is speaking,
Hmm.
Shukdev Goswami says that Krishna killed Narkasur,
Huh.
and Dhamma Rishi says Vishnu killed Narkasur.
Huh. Correct.
But they are referring to the same tattva.
Oh, okay. I got it.
You know,
Correct.
Tattva.
Mm.
Like for example, there is another incident of Tattva being there. Now,
Mm.
Prahlad Maharaj is talking to Hiranyakashipu.
Mm.
Mater न कृष्णे परतो सतो वा मितो अभिपिता. Now, people may say Krishna to आया नहीं अभी. People,
Correct.
but because Krishna is a name known from the beginning of Brahma. Govinda is
Yes.
named from the first day
Correct.
of Brahma, first month. So,
Correct.
and also some stories are previous kalpa,
Yeah.
but
Agreed.
retold in today's kalpa.
Agreed.
Like
Also, yeah, sorry.
yes,
Also, if the Bhagavatam, if the Katha is coming in Bhagavad Puran, which is surrounded with, like, telling the glories of Krishna, even this avatar. So, because of the tattva similarity, you see that superimposition, right? So,
superimposition.
superimposition.
Because
Yeah.
they are like Lakshman, Ram, Bharat, Shatrugna, all Vishnu, one. So
Correct.
if Ram killed or Lakshman killed, doesn't matter to intelligent person.
Yes. No,
Person.
correct. But I deliberately brought up that point.
Yeah.
So, for example, even now, this would be very interesting. A quick digression. Hopefully, it's quick. Say Brahma Samhita.
Yeah.
I mean, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindam Sarva Karana Karanam. Have you noticed this? This is what I noticed. This will be interesting to the students of Brahma Samhita. So it goes through, and this is very focused on a Krishna. I mean, can you tell me one verse like our Shrungara Arti? What is that? Venum
Vedum
Kanvata,
Kanantam Aravinda Dalayatakshan
right? So there
Ravatam.
is a Venu, I mean, so it's a very much of a Krishna, right?
Krishna.
There is no doubt about it.
But
And
that
just
starts from
like,
29th shloka. But
correct.
before the 29th shloka is all about Vishnu and other things.
Yes. And what is interesting is though, after that, this whole 29th shloka where it starts, which ends with Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam
Tamam.
Bhajami, when that whole thing ends, I'm sure you would have noticed it. And then the discussion comes and he says, thus, then Mahavishnu.
Mahavishnu, correct. Mahavishnu,
Right?
Charnikara, Mahavishnu. Like,
Huh. Huh. So I would say going back to say 35 plus years, okay, when some people would fight me about like a Krishna Vishnu, not understanding the tattva. So just as a humor, I would say. So when they say nobody is a Krishna and this is this fighting, I said, okay, all right, kaha? So bhai, Brahma Samhita. I said, let's bring the Brahma Samhita. And as a humorously, after that Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajami, I used to show them, look, now thus the Mahavishnu did this. Of course,
the
that's humor.
tattva, Krishna uses the word tattva darshana.
Huh.
So it requires some years to
Yeah.
gradually come to an understanding that many of these words are interchangeable.
Correct. And even for an ordinary language, Aditya ji, I mean, this is not to confuse with that tattva, but suppose you're saying, "Arey, where is the full moon?" He says, look at that tree. Just do you see that white one? In that case, that tree is also meant to be identified with the moon, because the purpose of a tree is to show the moon only.
Correct.
Like a Shaka Chandra Nyaya kind of
Like there
thing.
is a shloka, Bhagishe Vadane Lakshmi Resaja Vakshasi Yasyasti. And so the point is now, uh, Bahir Narsinga, Narsinga is outside as well as inside. Now
Yeah.
people may say, "आप तो परमात्मा बाहर है ना, Narsinga, where did Narsinga come here?" Okay, Tattva is Tattva. So
Correct.
the same person can come as Narsinga, Vaman, and same person will come as Kalki. Same person is so people the that's why Krishna is mentions very clearly Tattva Darshana.
Yeah.
Means people who see the Tattva, they are the ones who you need to seek guidance from. Otherwise,
Correct.
they'll divide. Like there's
Yeah.
a very famous lecture. I won't quote the name, otherwise people will comment. I won't
Go on
quote this
another tangent. Yeah.
tangent.
They get focused on the name itself and
Yeah.
not the substance. Yeah. Go ahead.
One famous guru said, and due respects to him, because I like him. He said, for a Tattvadarshi, Advaita, Dvaita, Vishish Advaita, Achintya, Bheda, Bhed doesn't make a difference.
Okay. Very
Because
good.
because he is Advaita includes Advaita, Vish Advaita includes both Dvaita and Advaita. Achintya Bhed includes everyone and doesn't include everyone also.
Correct.
So it's all inclusive. So there is no conflict for Tattvadarshi.
Very
But
good. Yeah. In private, you can tell me the name of whoever that is. But let me tell you something. Since you call me before our program begins by multiple names, you can add one more name, Tattvadarshi, to me. And I'm telling you why. Of course, I'm saying it humorously, but also there is a substance. I tried to study. This is going back quite a few years. Okay, so Shuddha Dvaita, Vishishta Dvaita, Dvaita Dvaita, my God, which is Achintya Bheda Bhed, pure Dvaita, and Kevala Advaita. And see, for example, like recently I did a course, like a couple of years ago or so, on the Shankaracharya's one particular text. And so I was very curious. And the teacher, again, I won't mention the name, people will go on a tangent. The teacher was amazing. I mean, teacher is amazing. And so I was doing that. And I said, I'm really curious now how, for example, right now, you, Aditya and me, at the tattva level as a Atma, we may be same. Mamaivansho, Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. But you and me are different. You and me don't think the same way. You live in San Diego, I'm living in different place. How is that Kevala Advaita, Shankaracharya's Advaita is going to explain it, right? And so is there some fascinating thing that my small brain has not understood yet? And when it started exactly same. I'm saying, how's this different than everything else I know? Okay. I mean, the Nyaya or the other darshanas, it's the same thing I will tell you about the darshanas. Like people will make a big damn fuss. I'm using the word damn deliberately. It's a very artificial, and people just, you can tell the guy doesn't understand a damn thing, But they will say, oh no, this one is that, but that is a Sankhya and this and that. Actually, if you start learning, say, Ishwara Krishna's Sankhya Karika, then I'm saying I'm in love with every single verse of the 72 verses. And, I consider myself coming from a Nyaya perspective. Ditto for these Dvaita Advaita business. So what is the word you said? Tattvadarshi? you can, next time, don't forget to use the word Tattvadarshi, because I looked at them and I'm saying, I don't know what difference it is. Meaning all kinds of the Vishishta Advaita versus Dvaita versus Shankaracharya's Advaita, like a gold and a bangle made out of a gold, the Parinam Vada and Samskar Vada. And I'm saying, come on, you can say anything you want. The reality does not change. These are just different frameworks for you to emphasize one aspect over the other. That's all that I understood.
That's all it is. Like
Like
it's
say
just guidelines.
between Ram and Krishna, whether you are a Rama Bhakta or a Krishna Bhakta, to your point, the Tattvadarshi will be both a Bhakta, right?
Yes,
Would
exactly.
not be a difference.
Like the people tell me, आप तो कृष्ण के भक्त हैं, फिर आप suddenly राम के भक्त कैसे बन गए? Difficult question to answer because
Correct.
that person doesn't have the basic understanding. तो उसको
Yeah.
कहाँ से आंसर करेंगे, कहाँ शुरू करेंगे? जैसे कोई बोले मुझे आप तो महादेव के अनुयायी है, लेकिन रुद्र के कैसे बन गए? अरे सेम पर्सन, सेम पर्सन.
Correct. In fact, now this one today's can be turned into a show of a tangents. But since you mentioned it, somebody asked Ramdas Swami this. No, then I'll get back on the track. The
Yes.
Shraddha and Pradnya, the two tracks. But Ramdas Swami ko kisi ne pucha. Somebody asked Ramdas Swami ki how you became a Rama Bhakta, and he has given a very good answer to that. And it's really that should make all of us humble in on different platforms. Today we will not discuss that. We will discuss it another time. See, suppose koi Ganesh Bhakta hai, and then somebody else thinks the Ganesh Bhakta is of a lower kind, is another idiot. For example, right?
Absolutely.
So what Ramdas Swami says, मुझे exactly उनका वर्स अभी नहीं आ रहा है, but it's a very good thing. He says it is foolish to think that you chose a certain Bhagwan. He says ये तो हमारे परंपरा में आ गई, which is to say suddenly you don't become a Krishna Bhakta, suddenly you don't become a Rama Bhakta, Krishna Bhakta, Ganesh Bhakta, Devi Bhakta, जो कुछ है. There is a tapasya of a past life. There is so much that is going on. It is bringing you think like you did something, and you became a certain Bhakta. How beautiful is that answer? Beautiful. Even to remove the ego of a person in thinking that, hey, suppose if I'm thinking because I do this research, therefore I'm a Saraswati Bhakta and I chose Saraswati. No, I did not choose Saraswati. जैसे Guru आता है, when the Shishya is ready, Guru comes, it is like same with the Devata.
Absolutely, absolutely. Or, I even tell to the level that Harinam means names of Hari, but sometimes Devta's names are also called Harinam. Because they represent the Hari.
And so, Krishna says Swadharma. We talk about Swadharma. Yeah. And Krishna also says if certain person has a certain inclination, therefore he goes to that Devata. I make the faith
steady.
Shraddha of that person steady in that Devata.
Exactly.
So if Krishna is doing it, who are you to unnecessarily disturb him? You can give the knowledge. You can tell the person, man, just understand there is a lot more. Don't stop there, that is perfectly fine. Sorry, but
Go
this
ahead.
was a beautiful discussion. We couldn't have planned it, right?
Right.
So, let me get back to this. So, Deepavali, now, after Vijayadashmi, that is the 10th day of Ashwin month in a Amanta system. And then Deepavali is the last day, Ashwin Amavasya. And so there is a gap of 20 days. The reason I mentioned this, Adityaji, is because this question comes to me every year. And somebody will just say that as, oh, what a beautiful explanation. No, this is a utterly nonsensical explanation, what I'm going to tell you, what people say. They say, okay, so on the Vijayadashmi, there is actually one individual, consider himself Ramayana researchers, and there are many followers of his, and who keep on blurting this nonsense, even today. So what is this argument? That Ramayana ko follow kar rahe, they are following Valmiki Ramayana, but suddenly they have a problem. They are scared of Pushpak Viman and what people will say about where is the Pushpak Viman. So do you know what is their method? What is their patch of work? They don't have a Shraddha in the Shabda Praman of a Valmiki Ramayana. So Vijayadashmi, Ram killed Ravan. Then he sat on a chariot, that Matali chariot, and started driving towards Ayodhya. I don't know, Aditya, if you have heard this. And they will go to the extent of even copying a Google map, okay, showing from, say, Kandy in Sri Lanka, because they think Sri Lanka is a Lanka. That's another issue. Let's put that aside. That is always the issue of a discussion. But say Kandy, from there they will show, and distance wise, they will show all the way coming to Ayodhya, and the distance divided by every day how much Rama would have traveled on the chariot, not realizing that that is the current highway is not the highway there. And they say, oh, perfect. That explains that Bhagwan Ram took from Ashwin Shukla Dashmi to Ashwin Amavasya those 20 days to travel from Sri Lanka to Ayodhya. That's the kind of very childish nonsense is been propagated, okay, in the name of research, and it is must be called out. Now what I want to say is, okay, but guys, the problem is not only limited to Pushpak Viman of Ayodhya. If you think of Ramayana, if you think it's a problem, I don't think it's a problem at all. It is a Shabda Praman. I do not have any other Praman for Pushpak Viman. I have no problem admitting that. But somebody that otherwise from the references you can show Ramayana to be more than 14,000 years old is mentioning Pushpak Viman. His descriptions match with today's aeroplanes. Okay, now today's aeroplanes did not come into being say 200 years ago. They came only after. Definitely the Ramayana, even the copies that we have are from 500 years, even just the repeated copies at the Bhandarkar Oriental. Definitely they're 2000 years old, 3000 years old. That much people, everyone agrees. It is describing something as an aeroplane that perfectly matches with our modern descriptions. We don't know much about Pushpak Viman. Well, why just Ramayana? Even Mahabharata has aeroplanes, not Pushpak Viman. So what is your problem? But people will suddenly lose that faith. It's perfectly okay to say, I don't understand what that description is from Ramayana. Anyway, so quickly, Vijayadashmi is claimed as the day Ram killed Ravan. That is not correct. Deepavali is the claim as the day when Rama returned from Ayodhya and returned from Lanka and entered Ayodhya, and the coronation, his Rajyabhishek and so on. That day was Ashwin Amavasya, same as the Deepavali, and that's why as the Rama's aeroplane is coming, they are putting the lamps and so on and so forth. It is a day of Amavasya, therefore the lamps. No, that is not correct. Again, I want to emphasize, celebrating Deepavali with all these wonderful memories is great, of a Narakasur, Dhanatrayodashi, and whatever the Katha it has been connected with. For example, after Deepavali, I don't know if it is again limited to Maharashtra, but I'm just saying because that's what I know. The first day is again a New Year day for a business community. Again, Kartika. That tradition is actually 28. That tradition is actually 30,000 year old. Okay, the solar year beginning with Kritika Nakshatra. It's 30,000 years old. Okay, I mean Rupa Bhatti just talked about it, but let's go further. So that day, the first day, that is also called Padwa in Marathi, just like we have a Chaitra Padwa. This is a Kartika Padwa, and that is the day when Bali, Mahabali, okay, from the Prahlada dynasty, Virochan dynasty, he comes to visit, or he appears. That is the day, and it is celebrated as a different way. And then the next day is the Bhau Beej or Bhai Dooj, So that's the 5 days. My point is, celebrate in the way you celebrate. But some of the things that we attach to it, again, is perfectly great things to remember and celebrate that as a Rama's coming to Ayodhya. Like say Ayodhya, we would have a big celebration. Perfectly okay to do that celebration if people want to do it. Same thing with the Vijayadashmi. If you want to make a form of a Ravana and burn it and have a celebration, fine. I understand that. From a historical perspective, those tithis are not correct. And why is this important? Because people don't understand is there are these so-called educated trolls, okay, who are Adityaji stuck in the foolishness and nonsense of Ramayana happening right now. Now, if you ask them, is that what you're saying? They say, no, that's not what I'm saying. But the way they interpret the Ramayana references is basically saying Ramayana is happening now, or Ramayana was happening 26,000 years ago. Now, if you ask them, okay, so are you saying Ramayana is not happening now? Now, they will come into the social media, they will go on the blogs, they will go on some discussion groups, Indic discussion groups, write utter nonsense, but when called out, they do not have a courtesy to respond. But they will say, I don't respond to them. Okay, so therefore, I'm just mentioning. Suppose you ask them, okay, so hey, it's just a common sense, it's not happening today. So are you claiming it happened 26,000 years ago? They will again not say anything because they don't understand Valmiki Ramayana. They do not understand science. They do not understand logic. They do not understand astronomy. Let us look at that. So if it is not Vijayadashmi, if it is not a Deepavali, if it's not Vijayadashmi when Ram killed Ravan, if it is not Deepavali when Ram returned to Ayodhya from Lanka, then what is the truth? I am giving you right on the front page, and we are still on the front page, but we'll go fast. Rama killed Ravan on a Chaitra Amavasya, which is to say Chaitra full moon, and 15 days after, like with the Amavasya that comes, that is the Chaitra Amavasya, just like Ashwin full moon would happen 2 days before, like Kojagiri and Valmiki Jayanti. And about 15 days after that is the Ashwin Amavasya, which is Deepavali. Okay, that's how I'm designating. So what is the truth? The truth is that based on a Valmiki Ramayana evidence, that Rama killed Ravan on Chaitra Amavasya, at the end of the Chaitra month on the day of Amavasya. What about Rama returning to Ayodhya? Ram returned to Ayodhya on Vaishak Shukla Shashti, and it was a Pushya Nakshatra. Very important to know. So what? About 6 days after Ram killed Ravan, Ram entered Ayodhya. So he did not come on the ground by the chariot by using a Google map. No, he came by a Pushpak Viman. In fact, that whole thing happened. Pushpak Viman travel happened within a day with one stopover. Okay, the what you call the hub and spoke arrangement. The hub was Kishkinda, as if I'm humorously saying it, from Ravana's Lanka, not to confuse with Sri Lanka. From Ravana's Lanka, the flight took path and it landed in Kishkinda, where the Vanara ladies, okay, the Tara, Ruma, and such, they also joined. And from there, Pushpagwan took off again, and it did not come to Ayodhya. Actually, it came to the ashram of Bharadwaj. Okay, keep this in mind, and I'm going to show you the evidence for this. Let's go with the Chaitra Amavasya, like the day Ram killed Ravan. Adityaji, you are going to be amazed with the consistency, preciseness, accuracy in even the descriptions, astronomy descriptions of Ramayana and astronomy descriptions of Mahabharata. This is the description. Again, just to keep it compact, I'm jumping to this error elimination experiment 62. I will show the books again. People should go and read the historic Ram. Also in India, it is published by Subbu Publications as 12,209 BC, the year of Ram Ravan Yuddha. It gives you 600 plus references and shows how it takes you to 14,000 years ago, precisely 12,209. But this one specific reference that is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana at the time of Ram killing Ravan. Okay, see how beautifully. Now, this is not the only reference. For example, the second line, if you read, Ramachandra Masam Drashtva Grastam Ravana Rahuna. Just because of that word Grasta and Rahu, I am not saying therefore it is Amavasya or I could have said Purnima, but I'm saying in this case Amavasya. No, the fact it is Amavasya can be inferred from much richer evidence of Valmiki Ramayana. But I'm saying, so we already know that it is almost the day of Amavasya. But the day Ram kills Ravana, there is also a description. This is the beauty of Vyasadev and Valmiki. Okay, so Valmiki is using what he's seeing in the sky, the actual situation, in describing what is happening on the ground. Celestial is equal to terrestrial. He's saying Ramachandra masam drashtva grastam Ravana Rahuna, as if Ramachandra did a grasta, as if like became a Rahu for Ravan, so to say, because he killed Ravana there. That day, based on 600 plus references, when we solve it logically and scientifically, that comes to this day of January 6, January 7. Okay, so it's a 7 here. The picture I'm showing is by mistake 7. No difference. If you have to go one day back, nothing is going to change. This moon here, right now, it will be like here. Okay, again, the day of Amavasya and so on. Mercury is here, that will be there. The nakshatras are not going to change their places, and sun will go back by 1 degree, which is like here where my arrow is. So no differences. Okay, 6 January. So that is one, that it is Amavasya. Now let's go to the next one. And this is very important, because do you know what it does? That next two lines, Adityaji, completely take away the possibility of this happening in the month of Ashwin, which is the way we celebrate like Vijayadashmi and Deepavali, like Ram killing Ravan and Ram arriving in Ayodhya. It also takes away any months which is next to Ashwin. Okay, because we are not going to make sun run at a different speed and go somewhere faster. No, sun is going to go at its own pace. Right now, notice the position of the sun. So here is, we have a Rohini, here we have Kritika. We are going backwards in a nakshatra. Bharani, then here there will be Ashwini, and somewhere here Revati and Uttara Bhadrapada and so on. So the position of sun is where? Near Revati, Ashwini, somewhere there. Okay, that nakshatra, or say Ashwini, which is what? If you want to know what lunar month it is, all you have to do is imagine a nakshatra which is exactly opposite or approximately opposite of the position of the sun. So if the position of the sun is near, say, Ashwini Bharani, somewhere there, or Ashwini Bharani Kritika, count 13 nakshatras, 13 or 14 nakshatras from Kritika or Bharani, wherever. So let's pick Kritika for a simplicity. Okay, so I'm going to count 13 or 14 nakshatra. Okay, so Rohini, Mrugashirsha, Ardra, Punarvasu, Pushya, Ashlesha, Magha, Purva Falguni, Uttara Falguni, Hasta. I completed 10. Chitra, Swati, Vishakha. So 13th nakshatra is a Vishakha. If I go to 14, it will be Anuradha. What does that tell me? The exactly opposite nakshatra will determine the name of the lunar month. So the month is going to be Vaishak. Or if you go to like a Revati Ashwini, then the month will come as a Chaitra. Okay, so this is the time of a lunar month of Chaitra Vaishak. That is just given. In no way, no matter how much you jump, unless you want to get rid of all the laws of Surya Siddhanta, modern astronomy, or Indian astronomy, basically you don't have a trust in anything that our sages have done, then only you can still claim the timing of Ram killing Ravan was Ashwin Kartik, or Rama coming to Ayodhya was a timing of Ashwin Kartik. It cannot be. This is what I'm showing. Why? Because the next two lines. Prajapatyam cha nakshatram rohini shashina priya samakramya buddhastastav prajanama shubhava. This is very fascinating, Aditya. Prajapatyam cha nakshatra, what is that? The nakshatra whose devata is a Prajapati, which is basically Rohini, and the Rohini is very clearly given. Shashina Priya, we know that the Rohini is loved by moon, the old metaphorical story. So, but what is happening? Samakramya buddhastastav. The Buddha, the Mercury, has come near Samakramya, Sama Akramya, okay, in parallel, has come closer to this Rohini nakshatra. Now remember, Mercury is always tied to the sun. It cannot go away from the sun by, say, more than what? 3 nakshatras max. Okay, max 39 degrees, max 3 nakshatra. So it has to be with the sun. So if Mercury is near Rohini, then the sun is also somewhere near Rohini. Okay, it can be back and forth. That's why we have, and therefore month of Ashwin is not possible. Month of Kartik is not possible because that's where the sun is. And for a lunar month to be Ashwin or Kartik in either system, Purnamanta or Amanta, sun has to be 180-degree opposite from where the Ashwin and Kritikas are. Okay, so that's not possible. So this is very important. So therefore, Ashwin or Kartik is simply not possible because the description of a description of a Mercury next to Rohini is given. Samakramya. Now the false game begins of the so-called Ramayana researchers. So therefore, I pulled another slide. So this is this happened on 6 January 12,208. Aditya, I want to quickly show. I think we will finish fast. But remember that word samakramya. The reason I'm mentioning it is because this is going to destroy every other claim for the year of Ramayana, okay, or any other dating for Ramayana. Therefore, I want people to come and fight it, and they're going to keep their mouth shut. I can tell you that. Why? Because they don't have a case. But I'm going to show you something more, how consistent this evidence is. Because someone will say, but hold on, Mercury doing a samakramya to Rohini can happen from different places. See, this is the false game these guys play. Okay. So they will say, oh, it is from a distance, something can happen. But the word samakramya, especially sama, but also akramya is very important. How consistent is this? We have done this series, so I don't want to spend much time. But I've pulled you to Mahabharata times now. Okay, even that this thing you would remember, akramya. That same word, samakramya, kramya, akramya. Here, abhavam hi visheshena kuruna pratipashyati dhumaketur mahaghora pushyam akramya tishtati. There is out of 130, not even a single Mahabharata researcher will come out in the open and say that this Dhumaketu near Pushya Akramya means Dhumaketu away from the Pushya Nakshatra. No one will dare that because it will not match even that one poor reference that they can claim a credit. It will not match otherwise. Okay, so Dhumaketu Mahaghora Pushya Akramya, meaning Dhumaketu was near Nakshatra Pushya. That Akramya word is important. Bhagam Nakshatra Akramya Surya Pitrena Putrena Pidate. Only 5561 shows Surya Putra, that is Shani, near Bhaga Nakshatra. Okay, other people do not refer to these words because it backfires on them. Let's take the next one. Shveto Grahasthatha Chitra Samati Kramya. Samakramya you saw there, and here Samati Kramya Tishtati. You can show that Saturn was in the vicinity near Nakshatra Chitra. That is what this is referring to. Let's go to the next one. Aindram Tejasvi Nakshatram Jeshta Akramya Tishtati. You can show that Jupiter, because Shama and Shveto are a very generic descriptions. Any Mahabharata researcher can assume any planet they want to assume. I have taken Shweta as Saturn. Why? Not because Shweta means Saturn. No, not at all. Because when you look at the 5561 scenario, because that has I have arrived at that not based on Shweto and Shamo, based on other evidence. But now what description this could be? The only that one perfectly matches is Saturn. In case of this one, it perfectly matches is Jupiter. And somebody objects to that. People don't object these days. But if somebody objects, I've said, well, what do you take as a Shweto? And what do you take as a Shamo? Any planet you want to believe, I'm okay with it. Come on, guys, and discuss. Nobody is going to come because they will fall on their face. Not because of just Shweto and Shamo. They may be able to show something, but everything else already has fallen. It will be visible to the people. That's why these will not come. My point is, look at the word akramya. Akramya, 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 akramya means near. That 4 times, there are 4 opportunities you could show in Mahabharata 7,500 years ago. Go back 14,000 years ago. How consistent is the ancient Indian astronomy? Samakramya buddhastasto. And therefore, long story short, Ashwin Kartik is simply not possible. Now, this is very important to get to our next reference. All right, now fast forward. Rama killed Ravana. That was a Chaitra Amavasya. Okay. Mercury was very close to Rohini. It was a day of Amavasya. All good. Now, Vibhishan invites Ram to enter Lanka. Rama recalls his vow. He says, "Hey, I will not enter during my Vanavasa time. Still, I'm in the Vanavasa time. I will not enter a city." Just like he did not enter Kishkinda. So he stays on the outskirts of Lanka. Other people do visit Lanka. And Ram says, "I am very eager now. Bharat is waiting for me. I want to go. Please, I need to start going there. I need to leave. It's a long distance." And Vibhishan says, "Don't worry. We have a pushpak. Within a day's time, it's going to take you to Ayodhya." Okay. So possibly they spend a couple of days there. We don't know the exact days, but definitely 2, 3 days as such gone. Sita's Agni Pariksha and various other things. Now the Ram invites Vibhishan, Ram invites the other Vanaras like Sugriva, Angad, Hanuman, and all others, the key Vanara warriors. They get on the Pushpak Viman and take a stop at Kishkinda. These all descriptions are there in Valmiki Ramayana Yuddha Kanda. Okay, I'm not just saying this just to keep this shorter. We are already at an hour here. They take the key Vanaras ladies, Triya. They enter. They also board the Pushpak Viman, and now Pushpak Viman comes to Bharadwaj Ashram. That is where this description is. Okay. Now Ram is sending Hanuman to meet Bharat, and with that he is giving the message. What message to tell Bharat, and in that context, it is said. So Panchamim Adya Rajani Mushitwa Vachanan Mune. Okay, so Bharadwaj. So, for example, let me read the translation. You can see Ram here itself today when he has been duly permitted by Bharadwaj the sage after spending at the instance of the sage for a night of the 5th lunar day, Panchami. Okay. It doesn't say clearly whether it is the Panchami of a Shukla Paksha or Vadya Paksha, but no worries. We are going to find out exactly. But then I have highlighted something in the further thing. In the parenthesis, the translator, this is from valmikiramayana.net, they have done an amazing job. So when I'm now criticizing it, I'm not criticizing the great work they have done. I'm just being Satyena labhya tapasa yesha atma. In that spirit, I'm saying that particular translation of the context is wrong. Here, the translator in the parenthesis, of course, so it's not there in the verse anywhere. But many people who don't know Sanskrit, they don't know that. I mean, there is a very foolish troll, Adityaji, who will take a translation like this and show and say, look, this is not what Nilesh translates. Yeah, I would never translate like this. I don't want to translate. I mean, I make my mistakes, but not these blatant mistakes. So, for example, in the parenthesis, as a reference he's giving, he's saying of the bright half of the month of Ashwayuja, which means month of Ashwin. This is not correct. Now, why is he writing that? Because in our times, we are celebrating these things in the month of Ashwin, Rama killing Ravana and Rama arriving in Ayodhya. That brainwashed content of our brain makes us even translate us in a wrong fashion. Again, I'm not criticizing the translator. I'm just bringing these realities to the people's attention. Okay. So no, it's not the month of Ashwayuja. Ashwin, we'll find out which month it is. So Panchami, they came into the ashram of Bharadwaj on a Panchami day. There cannot be many days go by. Okay, that's one reason we can say, okay, so Chaitra Amavasya, a few more days, 5 days, and it's a Vaishak Shukla Panchami. But someone may object to it, and I'm going to remove that objection because fortunately, in the great wisdom of Valmiki, he has left wonderful evidence for our benefit. So remember Panchami Adityaji, okay? It could be Shukla Panchami or Vadya Panchami, okay? I'm saying it is a Shukla Panchami, but we'll see why and how. So I'm showing you this day, 12th January, when Rama arrives at the Bharadwaj ashram and Hanuman goes and meets Bharat and is going to tell him about Rama's arrival at the Bharadwaj ashram. Rama tells Hanuman, again, I don't want to digress too much. I want people to read the original Valmiki Ramayana, beautiful narrations. But briefly he says, when you tell him the news, Rama says to Hanuman, when you tell Bharat the news of my arrival, please observe his facial expressions. Because Bharat is staying outside Ayodhya at Nandigram and ruling the kingdom of Ayodhya. But Rama wants to be, see, that is the character of Rama. Why is a Bhagwan? He wants to ensure if there is any change of mind in the Bharat, if he has been attached to the kingdom in some ways, maybe Rama would not have entered. So he wants to be 110% sure that Bharata still has the same attitude and same feeling and same emotions toward Rama and towards the kingdom, the attitude of a detachment. So he says, please watch his expressions. Anyways, that happens. That day is a January 12th, okay, and it's a day of a Panchami. Where can you see in the modern things? See here, January 12th, Panchami, 5 days old, okay, from a 0 day is the Amavasya day and 5 days old. Let's go to the another verse. Now, uh, yeah, so now Hanuman actually goes there, and there is a lot of other message that is being given to Hanuman. And now Hanuman is talking to Bharat. Okay, the what you see at the top is from my book, The Historic Ram, or 12,209. But quickly, let me fast forward to this. So now, see, let me read the translation first. Reaching the coastline of Ganga River again, Rama is staying in the presence of the sage Bharatvaj. Tomorrow, so Hanuman is meeting Bharat on the day of a Panchami. Tomorrow, when the moon will be in conjunction, that's a very crude translation. Simplified, it means tomorrow when the moon will be near Pusha, or the nakshatra of the day will be Pusha, you will be able to see Ram without any obstacle. Okay, the second line, avignam push avignam, that is without any obstacles, pusha yogena show ramam drashtum arhasi. Tomorrow, when nakshatra is pusha, you will meet Ram. So Panchami, okay, is the day when they are at Bharadwaj. Tomorrow, the next day is going to be Shashti, and nakshatra would be pusha. This information is very important to know what month it was. Of course, we saw from the position of the sun there, okay? But I'm just showing you how all this is a wonderful example of how the different pieces of astronomy evidence come together, solving a jigsaw puzzle, solving a crossword puzzle, okay? So this is Vaishak Shukla Shashti. The next day, you can see that the moon is near Pushya here. It kind of got cut, but this is the Pushya Nakshatra here. It's the sixth day, Shashti. So far, so good. And Rama meets Bharat, Rama enters Ayodhya. Quickly. But how do I know from a Pushya and a Shashti, it is the Vaishak Shukla Shashti? Because nowhere it is said it's the month of Vaishak. That is, I'm going to show you how this astronomy evidence, how phenomenal it is and how beautifully it fits. Remember, on the day Rama killed Ravan, we saw that the moon was near Ashwini Bharani, and for a lunar month to have that name of a Ashwin or a Kartik, the position of sun needs to be exactly opposite, which it is not. So therefore, it cannot be the month of Ashwin. It cannot be the month of Kartik. Now, because the sun's position is there, we can easily go and see what the opposite end is, and it is a Vaishak. So we know it is a month of Vaishak. Okay, but I'm going to show you with some additional evidence, just the evidence that we used, and our beautiful lunisolar calendar, why it is nothing else but Vaishak Shukla Shashti. Okay, just bear with me for additional 2-3 minutes. Okay, this is the calendar for month of Ashwin. Because some people insist, like the translator did, he said it's a Panchami and he's saying it is the month of Ashwayuja, which means Ashwin. I want to show why that cannot be the case, because the next day is a Shashti and the nakshatra is a Pushya. If in this calendar, this is the calendar for our current year, October 2022, the month of Ashwin. And this is the 6th, referring to not the 6th of October. It is 1st of October actually. It is the Shashti. Okay, it is a lunar calendar. So Shashti, Shukla Shashti here. Notice the nakshatra, Jeshta. Now what happens is a particular tithi and its nakshatra, the nakshatra can vary +-1, +-2 because of various factors beyond the discussion today. So the nakshatra of a Ashwin Shukla Shashti can be Anuradha, can be Jeshta, or can be Mula. Okay, but it's no way going to go to Pusha. Okay, like many other nakshatras in between, 10 plus nakshatra. So it cannot be Ashwin Shukla Shashti. Okay, let me show you something else. It is here, Saptami. Okay, so here, Shashti. If you can see, 21st as in like a Ashwin Vadya Shashti, Ashwin Krishna Shashti. You can see here, Shashti K. And what is the nakshatra? The nakshatra, remember, Shashti to Shashti is a 15-day, which is to say almost the opposite nakshatra. So the opposite of a Jeshta is going to be somewhere like a Rohini, Mrugashirsha, Ardra. And in this case, the nakshatra is a Mrugashirsha here. Anyone can go to today's Panchang, October 2022, month of Ashwin, and check the Ashwin Shukla Shashti, Ashwin Krishna Shashti. Shukla Shashti, always, any year, Ashwin Shukla Shashti will always be around the Jeshta, plus minus 1 or 2 nakshatra. Ashwin Krishna Shashti will always be around Mrugashirsha, plus minus 1 nakshatra, plus minus 2 nakshatra. It will not go to Pusha. Okay, and we also showed why it cannot be Ashwin and Kartik. Okay, so I already showed why it cannot be Kartik. The reason I wanted to show that is because something beautiful happens. If you take Kartik Krishna Shashti or Kartik Vadya Shashti, okay, the second half of Kartik, this is that Shashti here, again 21. Why 21? Purnima is 15, and then we are counting 6. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That is that Shashti, 6 numbers from Purnima. That's the Vadya Shashti. Note this, the nakshatra, Punarvasu. Why am I showing you that? Remember, this year it was a Punarvasu. In reality, it can be plus minus 1 nakshatra or plus minus 2 nakshatra. From Punarvasu, plus minus 1 nakshatra is a Pushya or Ardra. Plus minus 2 nakshatra is a Pushya Aslesha or Ardra Mrugashirsha. So in principle, it is possible that sometime in the Kartik month, the Vadya Shashti can match with the Pushya nakshatra. So could it be month of Kartik? The answer is no. Again, why no? Because remember, I showed you the position of the sun near Ashwini, Bharani, Krittika on the day when Rama killed Ravana. And so it cannot be month of Ashwin or Kartik. And Rama definitely did not wait in Lanka for 6 months before returning to Ayodhya. That's why it cannot be Ashwin, it cannot be Kartik. So now let's look at the Vaishak and we are done. If you go to Vaishak and if you look at I have just expanded this picture here. I have taken the calendar of this year, May 2022, when there was a Vaishak Shashti. Okay, Vaishaka Shukla Shashti, and look at the nakshatra Punarvasu. Again, remember, this year it was a Punarvasu, but actual nakshatra of a given tithi can be plus minus 1 nakshatra, plus minus 2 nakshatra. So Punarvasu plus minus 1 is a Pushya Ardra, or plus minus 2 is a Pushya Aslesha Ardra Mrugashirsha. So it so happened 14,000 years ago, 12,208, 13 January, it was in Ayodhya, the nakshatra Pushya, Vaishak Shukla Shashti. And that is the day Rama entered Ayodhya. Okay, so my books, The Historic Rama, if you want to read from Amazon, or if you are in India, 12,209 BC, quick summary. Valmiki Ramayana evidence is impressive, it's empirical, it's objectively testable. Based on Valmiki Ramayana evidence, Rama killed Ravan on Chaitra Amavasya, the end of Chaitra, okay, not in the Ashwin, not Vijayadashmi. Rama arrived at the ashram of Bharadwaj on Vaishak Shukla Panchami. Rama made Bharat on Vaishak Shukla Shashti. The nakshatra was Pushya. Now, of course, we celebrate Rama killing Ravana on Vijayadashmi. No problem with that whatsoever, as I see, because it's a cultural celebration. It's a historical celebration in memory of these great events. And Rama meeting Bharat on Ashwini Amavasya Deepavali in memory of those events, perfectly fine. But from a historical perspective, do not make that confusion. Those are not the historical days. Based on a Valmiki Ramayana evidence, it leads you to the different dates above. It is important to recognize that our cultural celebrations may not match the nakshatra, tithi, and lunar months, and actually also seasons of the actual dates of historical events. And that has to do with astronomy, the precession of the Earth's axis, and many other things. My apologies, Aditya ji, for taking longer. But with that, I want to stop. Back to you, and you can ask me to shut up, and I will do that.
No, it's astonishing. This video is going to be sensational for many people, but the idea was not the sensation. The idea was to present the shloka of Ramayana, and especially those who reject Uttarkand, they cannot get into these details because you are already rejected 1/3 of Ramayana. So only 18,000 shloka left for you to analyze from.
Correct.
So, but when you include Uttarakhand in your analysis, Tathotara, Valmiki
Yeah.
says Tathotara,
Correct.
especially if you say
Yeah.
Chatakanda Tathotara.
And let me add, if they, after showing these detailed analysis, if they reject it and still say, come on, Nilesh is saying something else, now they are not only rejecting Uttarakhand, they are now rejecting Yuddhakand.
Yuddhakand, that's
Huh?
right.
This is from Yuddhakand. So,
And then they have to automatically reject the Balkand also because
of
Uttarakhand doesn't
course,
make sense, then Balkand doesn't make
yeah,
sense.
they will be left with nothing.
So happy reading Valmiki Ramayana again now. So for all of you who are reading, so read the original Sanskrit verses and if you get the translation, so wherever you get the translation, transcendental and the gods have descended, these kind of words you see, then
Yeah,
throw that copy away because that
correct.
has come from European version of translation because people are very lazy.
Yeah,
They take the European version, copy paste into their version, and then create something. You
yeah.
know, we're not talking about gods. We're talking about devata.
Correct. And
Deva
maybe
is
we
a
should do we should another episode where they translate Rakshas as a demon,
demons.
Golish, like some very weirdo, like
Yeah.
ogre, right? They're Rakshasa, they are Danava, they're
Different.
not
Danava.
ogres, they're not demons. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a very interesting thing. The Rakshas are not allowed in Kalyug to attack the earth. And
Hmm.
Danav also. That means
Hmm.
Danav, Daitya, and Rakshas are different species.
Yeah.
They are not called Manushya also. Because the word is used Manushya specifically for people who are look very simple muscles and simple, very good looking people. Simple looking. Rakshas have different views. Ghatotkacha was considered totally different. And he used to come with his army of Rakshasas.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That will be another subject. We will do
another
that.
subject.
But the point is, to your point, not to forget transcendental
The
and the
gods.
demons and ogres are not the correct translation. They actually distort the meaning and create a very weird picture of our itihasa.
They call them what they are used to call them. They'll call
Yeah,
Bhagwan Vyasa, yeah, or Vyasa Dev,
correct.
but they won't call Vyasa. Don't do that Vyasa thing.
Yeah, I make that mistake and I'm guilty of it. But yes, we have all of us have to put our efforts to correct it.
Correct
Yes,
it, yeah. Like the way they call it, just call them like that. Because if you say just Vyasa, then it's a half word, half
correct,
name.
correct, correct.
Vyasa says, and anyway, thank you so much, Nirejji. Always a
Namaskar.
pleasure and
Yeah.
Tattvadarshi. So I love it. Namaskar
Very good. We
and
found
thank
new
you.
word for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaskar.